All right, I'm Mike Roberts. I'm with Save the Graves. And thanks you all for coming out here. Save the Graves in 30 Seconds is a nonprofit dedicated to the restoration, preservation, and celebration of El Dorado County cemeteries. We're best known for a big theatrical event. It's coming up on October 17th. And here is postcards about it that somebody will distribute. Thank you, Jacob.
Good job.
Nailed it.
All right. So this falls under the category of celebration because this is an amazing place. Okay, we work in a lot of public cemeteries that have been abandoned and have become wards of the county. And I'm here to tell you the county is a terrible cemetery guardian. Okay, we are dead last on the budget. And we have beautiful historic cemeteries throughout the county that reflect that. And hence, we created this nonprofit to try to fix some of them. Unfortunately, they want us to also maintain them, but we're too old to man weed whippers. So we asked that the county still try to get at least that much done, and they don't. But I promise not to whine so much, so I'm going to tell you, and also I'm 72, I can't remember hardly anything, I barely hook up my PA, so I have to read a little bit, forgive me for that. Rescue is a small community, okay?
I need you to have the mic up in your mouth.
Rescue is a small community, just 47 square miles with a deep multi-generational history. Over the years, a number of people have committed to keeping that history alive. We're going to recognize a few of them today. The short list from the recent past includes Francis Carpenter, the former fire chief and local character who co-authored the most amazing coffee table local history book I've ever seen, and now I have no hands to pick it up. Pass around both copies. Thanks, Cosme. Pass around both copies. Jacob, where is this book available?
At the Historical Society at Fountain and Tallman on Main Street, 524 Main Street, Placerville.
Right, and the Historical Society, the authors, Carp and Bill Ty, have granted the Historical Society the right to reprint it, so it's not going to die on the vine. This is the most amazing local history book anyone's ever seen. It's a high-quality coffee table caliber history book that makes some of the most mundane. See, the problem with local history is it's not as dramatic as discovering gold and having Indian wars and stuff. And so this book manages to make that mundane stuff accessible to us short attention span moderns. So it's commendable for that.
Well, and Mike,
yeah.
My name's Curtis. Lyle and I are on Rescue Volunteer Fire Association, and the Historical Society disbanded, so we've got cases of these books. So when we do National Night Out on August 4th on Tuesday at the Rescue Fire Station, we're going to be selling those books as well, and you can get a hold of us if you want to get a copy of the book, because we've got them in boxes.
Great.
Wonderful.
So it's good to know that unfortunately the Historical Society did slip back into passive mode, let's just say. It's waiting for the next generation of engaged rescue people, residents, to pick it up and run with it. There's some big shoes to fill. So we lost Carp last year. He's buried right over there. We'll talk more about him in a minute. And if there's one person that I want you to leave here today knowing about, it's him. He was a tremendous influence on me. I didn't know him well enough to call him a friend, but he was a really good acquaintance and a good guy. Cared deeply. We'll talk about his history in a moment. The driving force on that book project was an accomplished researcher and author named Bill Ty, whose health is sadly now failing. He can't be here today. He's a gifted author, and his ability to do graphics is unsurpassed. Another friend is not only a rescue historian, but a driving force in the County Historical Society, the museum, 2 El Dorado County archives, and she also volunteers at both Folsom and Placer County History Museums, and that's Rhodey Lee. She cataloged the Zentgraf House and has helped so many people on so many projects, including and especially moi. lastly, and for today, most importantly, is Linda McBeath. Where are you? Is she hiding there? She is over there. Okay. She's the one who's going to keep me honest today. Her knowledge of the people we'll discuss today is unsurpassed. Digging up the past in small communities like Rescues can be difficult to impossible. One big reason this book is so good is the Russell Diaries. Linda is the great-great-granddaughter of James Russell, who we'll also meet momentarily. And this guy he lived to be 100 and kept a detailed diary every day of what happened in Rescue.
That's amazing.
I mean, from, George got $10 worth of gold out of the pyramid to Abraham Lincoln died. He also dug most of the graves in the historic section of this cemetery, which is behind me. And that was just as a public service, not as an avocation. He was a miner. He was pulling gold out of Sweetwater Creek, I guess, late in life. His son-in-law picked up after he passed on the grave digging duties. So interesting people that contributed a lot. So all of that makes it absurdly pretentious to me to stand up here and try to tell you about the people of Rescue, since you are so rich in historians. And I just scratched the surface. Those are just the ones that are currently active, right? There's, Pearlie Wing and people that go back that know that really carried the torch. You've got a literary society over there by the firehouse. There was a time capsule in it. There's so many stories. It's great. So I'm going to introduce a handful of significant characters buried here and stumble through a few facts of their life, and hopefully Linda will chime in on the important stuff I get wrong or miss entirely. Please encourage and appreciate her. Next, we got to talk about this cemetery for a minute. It's run by a nonprofit cemetery association with a board of directors. Wow. This is an active cemetery. You can buy a plot here for $1,000 if you live in Rescue, $2,000 if you don't. In the new section that we're standing in, good idea. You make a new section and then you leave your historic section to the old families. Hello? That's the way this is supposed to be done. And on so many levels, that is the way, this cemetery is the way it's supposed to be done. It's full of interesting and historic graves. It's reasonably well maintained. Numerous hardscape features. Look at this. Brick walkways. Oh my goodness. Running water? You're killing me.
Really?
A flagpole with a flag on it. Oh, come on. You're going to spoil us. El Dorado County cemeteries don't have this kind of stuff. They just don't. So this is really something. That association, I think, is 104 years old now. And so we're here at their permission, by the way. Is anybody here in the association? Any members? Association members? Going once, going twice? Anyway, they were like, really? You want to do that? Come on over. So here we are. There's shady places to reflect in the news section. Okay, this place, here's my joke, okay, my Starbucks joke. Wait for it. This place has everything but a Starbucks. Come to think of it, it has not one but three Starbucks. Marcus, Nettie, and Ron, which Linda's already corrected me. There is no Ron Starbucks, so it's got only two, but it's still got Starbucks. And they have nothing to do with coffee, or maybe they liked it, I don't know. So yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be. Most places like this have been abandoned. Okay, they get legally, formally abandoned, at which time, by ancient state cemetery law, the county is forced to adopt them. And please don't let that happen here. Okay, next we have to talk about names in rescue. Rescue was originally White Oak Township, which is boring, but that's what it was. It contained a number of small, very colorfully named communities like Jayhawk, Juergens, Sweetwater, Green Valley, Deer Valley, Rose Springs, and several others. We're now standing in Jayhawk, okay? Jayhawk Cemetery, Jayhawk. Talk more about that in a minute. Nearby are Bonisset, named for a gold mine, and most colorfully of all, right down the road here, Pincham, which is short for Pincham Tight. Now, a lot of you know this story, but for those of you that don't, it's a good one. Pincham Tight was the amount of gold dust a tight pinch it took to buy a drink doort at the store there.
Oh my God.
Okay, and that's right
I heard that
a quarter
so
mile
long ago,
down
I forgot.
on the right. The parts of that place are still standing, and you go there, you don't know what century you're in. It's one of those places in El Dorado County where, like the Zentgraf house, Bob,
Yeah.
where you can't tell what century you're really in. And that gives me goosebumps. I don't know about you, but I love it. All right, Jayhawk. Back to Jayhawk. It's obvious, right? Kansas, Jayhawk. Probably not. There's been a lot of theories over the years, and our man Ty has written an entire another book that looks like that one about Jayhawk. I'm not sure it'll ever get published, but he's got a really wild one. But I like what Linda came up with. She found an 1855 Georgetown News article that said that Captain Weber, for whom Weber Creek is named, employed a number of Native Americans to mine along its bed, and they used an Indian basket as a pan, and one of those Indians was a miner he had working for him named J. Hawk, a Native American. And that's what we're going with. Linda, how am I doing?
You know, I've had just countless discussions about this issue. I really don't know, but I'm going with Jayhawk. Because of the newspaper being so old, and I'm using that as my reference. Other than stories that just have been adapted and passed down through families, and I don't know, to tell you the truth.
All right, Linda says you're right, Mike. Maybe the last time I hear that today, so I'm taking it. Lastly, the name Rescue itself. There's multiple origin stories. But the most likely has to do with the post office, and this one I actually am a little confused on, Linda, because I got Kelly Creek store and Carpenter store like basically on top of each other, and why would there be two? And anyway, the area was served by 4 separate Green Valley post offices over the years. In 1894, postal officials wanted a new office farther east, and they demanded that it not be named Green Valley because there was already so many Green Valley post offices in California. And so also they wanted a one-word name.
Oh. We're going to get a shock doing that.
Yeah.
Around this time, Carp's great-grandfather and some local investors were building a new store at the intersection of Green Valley and Deer Valley Roads that most of you turned on to get here. Now, there was already a long-standing and well-established Kelly Creek store there. That's hence my confusion. Anyway, they wanted to land the new post office in their store because, that's like another kind of gold mine. People come to pick up their mail, and they also buy stuff, right? At the time, one of his investors, or his partners, I guess, was involved in the Pyramid Mine, which is down on Coloma Road, and it was not doing well, and they were developing a new ledge that was going to rescue it from bankruptcy, hence rescue. It's thin, but it holds together. The post office loved it, approved their application, and rescue, as we know it, is born. Linda, fact check. How am I doing?
It's another one of those mysteries.
Yeah.
Linda says you're right again, Mike. All right.
Versus the Truckee Rescue Society.
Yeah. There's some theories about the Donner Party and referring to that rescue.
And then also a doctor who said that coming here saved his life.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
I've heard all of them.
I like that.
I don't know which one it is.
Jury's out. I defer to the lady at the end of the bench, but I don't live here, and I don't know. So you guys can
Maybe
just
they're all true.
pick your own story.
I'll take all 3, and then
Yeah,
I'll
you can
just
take
switch
all
it
3.
based off of my mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we can't be mistaken.
All right, we got to move on here. Let's talk about Germans. We're gonna meet a lot of them today. Okay, rescue is full of Germans. What brought them here? One word, starts with G.
Yes, gold.
Gold. Okay. In the 47 square miles we're calling rescue, there isn't 1 square foot of it that hasn't been walked by a miner looking for gold. Close quote. Bill Ty. All right. Most of those miners were German. Why? In 1850, there were 35 million people in what was then called the German Confederation. 10 years earlier, there'd been 30 million people.
Wow.
Population boom. Nearly 1 million Germans immigrated to America in the 1850s, nearly 1 million. Several factors triggered this historic wave of immigration. Industrialization earlier in the century increased the rural population. Infant mortality dropped. Life expectancy increased. Population boomed. Automation made farming more productive, which actually hurt. They didn't need as many people to work the fields, and so there wasn't enough work for everyone. The change was too much, too fast. Peasant farmers couldn't sustain a living. Then they had agricultural failures in the mid-1840s, including a widespread potato blight that also affected other areas of Europe. You know, we hear about that in Ireland. And they had starvation, economic desperation. On top of it, the rise of factory-made goods destroyed traditional cottage industries, such as spinning and weaving, that many families were using to sustain themselves. So at the same time, there's massive political upheaval. The German Confederation was just a loose political association of 39 independent states with princes who had their own power, systems, these guys were autocratic and conservative, and liberals and working class citizens wanted democratic reforms and national reunification, resulting in rebellions and violence in 1848. They got as far as starting to write constitutions and stuff before the powers that be stepped in. Yeah, nipped it in the bud. So we got political refugees and disillusioned intellectuals fleeing to avoid imprisonment or execution. Meanwhile, this little place across the pond called America has abundant cheap farmland, higher wages, and gold right laying on the ground or in the streams. You can just pick it right out. And they know this is true because of chain migration. These people were literate. The early ones wrote letters back home and told them, we're finding gold and rescue. Get your butt over here before it's all gone. Also, in the case of the Germans, and I'm not, actually I'm out of my water here a little bit, but extended families migrated. And I've read a lot of these stories in other parts of the county, and just the guy would come out, or single men would come out. There was all these stories of there's no women in the gold camps. These people brought their families, if not immediately, shortly thereafter. Not only their immediate family, but their in-laws. They brought their mother-in-law. They must have really wanted it. Anyway, that's why so many Germans ended up here. And they're obviously hardworking people. These weren't really wealthy people, so but they're basically, I guess you'd say they're resourceful people, and that talent did well here because they came here and they did a number of things. Some actually did really well. The Jurgens family did really well by gold mining, but most of them, it wasn't enough to sustain a family. So they were also involved in various aspects of the ranching operations, and we'll see that specifically when we get to the Zentgraf house later today. That's what's going on in there. They got into winemaking there, and they weren't the only ones, but they did it more successfully than others. So these people are doing a lot of stuff. Last thing I want to mention before we start talking about individuals in the cemetery here is that in small places like rescue, the most important people don't necessarily have 10-foot monolithic headstones. They're humble folk, and so we'll see some of the most important ones in relatively plain markers. Humble folk too. These are humble Germans. They weren't pretentious. There's Carp right there. See that one there, the gray granite? That's Francis Carpenter and Susan, his wife. It goes back to a guy named, let's start with William Carpenter. He marries a Mary Turnbull in 1879. Turnbull, name familiar? Anybody following county politics here? Anybody that's heard George Turnbow talk for more than 2 minutes has heard about his family. And at the 3-minute mark, he starts talking about his cemetery association over in Frenchtown, which he is justifiably extremely proud of. It's another successful small family cemetery association. If you haven't been over there, you can Google it. Google Apple Maps it. It's nice. William's stepfather is a guy named Hunter, who is our Carp's great-great-grandfather. And we've already heard, he built a store next to the old Kelly Creek store, or on top of it, or something, right down here at the intersection. And it does become the post office, and Hunter becomes the postmaster. And basically it stays in their family for generations. They pass this postmaster gig around to everybody in the family at one point or another. William, Hunter's son, marries and has a son named Merritt, who marries Margaret Luneman in 28. Francis Merritt Carpenter, our friend Carp, was one of Merritt and Margaret's 4 kids. And they lived in the Kelly Creek store from 1920 to 1959.
Wow.
So, Linda, we all right? More or less. All right. The store was torn down in '66. Other businesses have come and gone in that location. There was a 76 station, of course. I think, is that sign still up? I don't know. And I went to at least one bar there, maybe 2. I'm not sure. Carp went on to be a decorated veteran of the Korean War. He was captain of the Pilot Hill CDF station, eventually retiring in '82. But during his off time, he was a driving force in starting and then growing the Rescue Volunteer Fire Department. He was the volunteer fire chief from '64 to '65, and again from '75 to '93. And I guess early on they had a rule that you could only serve 1 year in a row for some reason. Anyway, in '77 he was instrumental in building the Rescue Fire Station number 1. He was the first paid fire chief in rescue. And he retired in '93, but still served on the board for several years. Lifelong love of history, extensive collection of photos and ephemera, much of which ended up in the book. James Russell, I think I already mentioned, a centenarian, 100 years old. Got to San Francisco in 1850. His uncle was the master of the ship. He's from Nantucket, so they're whalers. And he's here early in life, moving cargo to shore. And by the spring of 1850, he's up here moving around, panning for gold. Spring of '51 finds him in rescue. He's 19 years old, bounces around back to Nantucket, meets his bride, ends up settling with her in Sweetwater in '68. They live the rest of their lives there. This lived and worked a mining claim just west of Starbuck Road for over 50 years. And I do have some photos of this. I'm going to pass around the minute I can set something down. In the laminated things there is some 2 different handouts on Russell that we can pass around. They had 3 children. Their daughter, Nettie, married Marcus Starbuck. Importantly for Linda, their other daughter, Aggie, married Wallace McBeath. He was, Russell was the primary gravedigger at Jayhawk Cemetery from '61 to 1900, and his son-in-law, Marcus Starbuck, followed in his footsteps. I already told you, he wrote in his diary every day. That diary was kept in a carbide canister and finally unearthed in 1970.
My grandpa went to visit his cousin, Frank Starbuck, who was dying, and he was kind of fading in and out of consciousness and talking kind of incoherently, actually, is what Grandpa said. And he said to my grandpa, Elmer, go over and dig underneath that big oak tree. There's something I want you to have. So my grandpa said, well, okay, he's dying, but I'm going to make the man happy on his deathbed, and I'll go start digging. So he started digging, and the story is that as he told it, he dug quite deep and found hip metal.
Oh, my.
So then he kept digging, and he found this carbide canister that sits about this high. It has the lid that kind of sits down into it. And in that were 69 daily journals that James Russell had written. From 1861 is actually the earliest journal until he died in 1930, and then his daughter Nettie wrote in the last entry, Grandpa died today, 100 years, 2 months, and 16 days. And they cover everything in rescue, everything. Who died, who had babies, where they're buried. Not everybody was buried in the cemetery. You mentioned Abraham Lincoln. When Abraham Lincoln died, they went out to Evans' store down on the corner to get information about Lincoln's assassination, and then they went back the next day because they had been told that yes, Lincoln was assassinated, but also Stuart was assassinated, when that wasn't true. So they were getting the telegraph messages in from Placerville. Yeah, it's just an amazing history. Talks about when the railroad was put in 1869, going to Sacramento to the big celebration, and yeah, so it's a lot of information.
And while we've got you here, would you like to tell us about the spoon?
The spoon. Okay, I have an amazing family history. Going back to of the 10 original purchasers of the island of Nantucket from the Indians, I'm related to 9 of them. And there, of course, anybody that's done genealogy on the East Coast, you know that those cities or those states back there, they kept such exemplary records. And so let me think, my great-great-great-grandfather, this is so timely in America 252, but my great-great-great-grandfather was the captain of the ship Beaver that was bringing one of the 3 ships that brought tea into Boston. He was the last ship that arrived. And so the story is, and I've documented this through the Boston Historical Museum, or the Tea Party Museum in Boston, that he actually went when they were through. Well, what happened was when the supposed Indians came onto the ship, they said, if you just give us the tea, we won't hurt anybody. Then you can just go about your business. So he cooperated. He did let them go down. The only thing he said was, there's a chair down there that I'm bringing from England to my family. Please, can I keep it? Yes, they let him keep it. It is in the Historical Museum in Nantucket. But then supposedly, as they were carrying the tea off, some of it fell onto the deck, and he collected some of that tea. And of course, it was worth a lot because they hadn't been having tea in the colonies. And so he sold it, and he bought 6 silver spoons. And so I have one of those spoons. So the history is that I have a spoon, and I actually know where all 6 of the other ones. 2 of them are in Australia from family members. But yeah, so it's a great history. I have a spoon that actually survived the Boston Tea Party.
Yay!
Marcus Starbuck the Starbuck and Russell family are tightly intertwined by marriage and everything else. They were also from Nantucket. He's a very prosperous whaling family. He'd been, before the age of 17, he'd been, quote, 5 times round and twice through the Straits of Magellan. In 1877, he gets to San Francisco and gets gold fever. Family friends, the Russells from Nantucket are already up here. They take him in. Mining, grape growing, livestock follow. He briefly returns to whaling and was disowned by his family when he returned to rescue. All right. Marcus married the Russell daughter, Annette, in 1890. And no less than the Venerable Reverend C.C. Pierce from Placerville came out to do the ceremony. If you don't know the story of C.C. Pierce, please attend Save the Graves on October 17th. You like how I dovetailed into that promo? We will have a very skilled actor our best actor actually, telling his story first person. So it's amazing. He's got a great story. He was based in Placerville, but he traveled all over the county, always on foot, and great guy. So the Starbucks are a real central part of the community, and as I think probably everybody knows, the road's named after them. Marcus celebrated his 50th anniversary in 1941 and found a $195 gold nugget in the stream the following year. He continued mining until his death in 49. Let's talk about the Wing family. They're not German. They were English. And interestingly, there's 2 foothills Oriental sounding 4-letter named families, the Wings and the Tongs from Clarksville, who are not Asian in any way, shape, or form. They're English, and they have these names. So I don't know what that's about, but the Wing brothers were formative rescue pioneers, which both met mysterious endings. The Wing Ranch is on Green Valley Road between Skinner's Winery and the Rescue Elementary School. It's the straightaway there. There's a picture, two pictures of it actually. The original brick inn that was there and somehow burned down despite being brick. And then there's the replacement Wing house, which is still there. It's the modest white house on the south side of the road. Now, yeah, there it is, right there. That's the new one, right? I think on the back of that there should be the old one. And I have my second joke coming up, so get ready. James Wing, he's here in 1850. We're not exactly sure how he got here or how long he'd already been here, but couldn't have been very long. In 56, James buys the Iowa House, which has a bunch of names in its time, but it's that one that she just held up. It's a favorite stop for the Teamsters. So Green Valley Road is the route from Sacramento to Coloma, right? So the Teamsters are wanting a comfortable place to stay where the horses get treated well, and they find it there. That area is called White Oak Flat. Prior to him arriving, this guy put in a plank road there because the area is actually marshy. And so they used to put in these plank roads, but normally it was just like a 2-season, throw some wood down, charge a toll deal. But this guy put in drainage and gravel and big, thick oak planks and covered it in sawdust because he wanted to keep the Teamsters happy, basically. And so James buys this from him. It was just about a mile long. It went from right where the Wing house is to just before Deer Valley Road here. That was the low spot. It's a very successful enterprise. I wish I knew what the tolls were. A better researcher, I would have had that. That would be interesting to know what they charged, but I don't have that.
She's got the paperwork.
Yeah, she's got everything. But here we are, up here, standing here in front of y'all. So one of the things I do on my cemetery tours is, because a lot of this stuff is not very sensational, so the little bit that's really sensational that there is, I call the Ways to Die in El Dorado County. And so the rescue chapter, James is the charter member. He goes upstairs and shoots himself in the head in 1870 for reasons that are completely unknown, unless one of you knows a reason. No, going once, reason. Okay, so now suicide in this era is not that uncommon. Our old cemeteries are full of suicides. There's no safety net. Old people get sick, and they're suffering, and there's no relief, and they just kill themselves. So it happens. So that's Ways to Die Wing, number one. But their 6 children marry members of other prominent rescue families, including the Kipps, Wise, and Wolfs. In 1870, John and Louisa have taken over I'm backing up a little bit. The Iowa house, which is called the Old Brick House by then. So that's the old one that burned down, and it's subsequently the subject of a Tower of Power song. And does anybody remember the song Brick House by Tower of Power?
Yeah.
Sing along with me. She's a brick. All right, it's a bad joke, I admit. So now, in 1876, this is John. We're on the other brother now. And again, things are going pretty well. He walks away. Never seen again. Never comes back. Nobody knows. There's all sorts of theories. Was he murdered? Was he kidnapped? Was he disillusioned? No one knows. There's one little story about, a mysterious guy showed up years later and walked around and asked him some suspicious questions and then went away. Maybe that was him coming to check out, but the guy just walks away. So that's been, when I was a reporter in El Dorado Hills, they were still talking about, murder theories about John Wing. So, all right. Pearly Wise, George's second wife, became George. This is George Wing, became a really important person in rescue. She's instrumental in the post office, the telephone company, the literary society, and a charter member of the historical society. That flagpole right there has her name on it. And she's in the middle of a lot of good stuff. George and Pearl have 7 kids. 5 are in the family plot back there. And as are some of the grandkids, including one Bunny Wing. I met her at the very end of her life. You could tell there was a little dementia going on, but she had a smile that could melt icebergs. And she was very engaged. And I don't remember the occasion, to be honest. It was one of the Clarksville presentations. But it was a real privilege meeting her. It's one of those people where you know you're meeting somebody important, and you don't really know why. So if I could talk about one more, who is it?
I would say Irwin Cooley, only because there's some interesting things about him and his killer.
All right, take it away, girl.
Okay, just real briefly, there were a lot of water rights disputes amongst the area, and there was a lot of unpleasant things that happened between families.
Yeah, and they dug up Rose Springs.
So one of the people that was involved in one of these disputes was Irwin Cooley, who actually served in many government positions in his early years in Placerville, and he was shot and killed by Henry Frears. Okay, this is the very first documents that I got when I very first started researching this family in the 1970s. Went to the museum and actually was able to hold the transcripts of the trial. It was just very, very exciting for me. So Henry Frears was found guilty anyways. To make a long story short, Henry was found guilty, was sentenced to life in prison, or life in Folsom Prison. So when he died there, because he was so well connected locally to the community, the story is that he died and the prison guards snuck his body out of the prison, and he's buried somewhere in this cemetery. And no one seems to know where, at least as far as I know, no one seems to know where. I just think that's a really interesting story.
Wow, and the victim is right over there on the fence line, as I recall. One of the sad things about our early cemeteries is how exclusionary they were.
Oh, yeah.
I spend a lot of time in Placerville Union Cemetery, which has 6,000 burials, and no black people, and no Native Americans, and maybe a couple of Chinese, and I think I found 2 Jews. So, you know, it was formed by the fraternals, and those were the members of the fraternals. Historical burials, sorry. So the fraternals in the day, these people weren't members of the fraternals. In some cases they couldn't be, in some cases they just weren't. But what we have here is one black burial that has been, I don't know, I'd say celebrated, but at least recognized by the association. It was, I'm going to forget his name now. Is it Booth?
Yeah.
Collins Booth. He basically is working out here in the field and drops dead working, which, you know, happened. Who knows? Heart attack. They're not going to do an inquest on this guy. The Mountain Democrat carries the story as some darky, quote unquote, dropped dead in rescue the other day. And he is buried outside the fence here. But subsequently, the association forms and moves him inside the fence and builds him a concrete marker. And years later, his marker gets upgraded to a granite marker, and he's right over there, and you can meet him. Which I don't know. I just respect that and think it's neat that that happened. Now, there's a bunch of other really important families here that we're not going to get a chance to talk about, and I'd probably butcher it even if we did. But they're all covered very extensively in the book that you should get. It's really an easy, enjoyable read straight through, and I use it as a reference book mainly. And Linda wants to close with the reading of one thing in particular. Give this back to you.
I have hundreds and hundreds of pages that I've researched on this area. And one of my very favorite stories, as I wanted to read to you today, was published in the Sacramento Star newspaper on February 5th, 1924. And the headline says, "Graveyard and Wine Cellar Tell the Story of Jayhawk." And this is what it says. "A half-filled hole in the side of a hill, kept from complete obliteration by heavy stone walls that rise a few feet above the ground on the uphill side. An overgrown side hill, barren of the works of man, the slipping back into the primitive. That is Jayhawk. Where once 5 saloons flourished, and the overflow of the Zingraf winery brought pounds of dust to the owner and content to the community, there was Jayhawk. Only the marks of a cellar and the cooling rock of a solid wall marked the spot where several thousand people lived and mined and then went away. Queer how the only marks of the lost town is a wine cellar, and a solid, heavy walled cellar it is, where liquor could be kept cool on hot days. All other evidences of the town are gone, with the exception of the graveyard, a graveyard and a wine cellar. The cemetery is over on the old Folsom-Placerville Stage Road. The markers on the tombstones are brief and to the point, like the arguments of the old-timers. Only in St. Michael's, the Jacob Zingraf plot is there any explanations of sentiment. On the mother's tombstone, the first to be erected there, is the inscription, "Marie, wife of Jacob Zingraf, born 1823, a native of Germany." Then below, "Dear mother, we miss you, but in heaven we'll meet again." Surrounding the grave of the mother, there are 7 others, the father and 6 of her sons. That and the wine cellar. Where Zingraf and his large vineyard, wild hazelnuts, holly scrub oak, and manzanita grow with primitive abandon, it has the appearance of soil never tilled by the hand of man. Yet from that land, old-timers say wonderful crops of wine grapes were raised. Stunned by the hollow to mining, people in the vicinity have never realized the possibilities from the cultivation of the soil. 2 small ranches are near the place, only 2 inadequate ranches. But mining and the excuse for existence is the district. It is actually dead. Hence the taggart spirit and the refusal to throw the spirit of enterprise late, the new game of farming has arrived. The spirit of the vicinity resembles that of a man who, hurt by a fall, becomes cautious and defiant in the face of a new problem. And in the town, this country lived at a fast pace. It took a fall from there, which it had never been able to recover. And this is a quote. "Things were lively in Jayhawk 70 years ago," James Russell, a 94-year-old 49er, told me. "They used to have a man for breakfast every morning." That's what they used to say in those days. In the Saturday night fights, someone always dropped out, and Monday morning they buried him on the hill.
Wow.
I just think that's a great story.